Good evening, everyone. This is the Basement Wargamers Grudgecast. Once again, I am your host, Jared. Quick word of business. This is not safe for work, children, or little bitches.
Thing is, though, I listen to this at work.
Yeah, so do I, honestly.
And you're both a bunch of little bitches.
And we can.
So it's great.
So completely disregard that. Show this to your children.
It's okay. I can shut my office
You can
door.
show it to them because, you're only listening. So it's not like fucking television.
Yeah. They're just going to see the big bomb when they watch it.
Exactly. So, I'll go around the horn quick, as per usual. Once again, my name is Jared. To my right, the voluptuous Hobbit, Bill W.
The Hobbit.
The glorious Sam.
Hello.
Hi, Jesus.
I can't think of anything awesome. Bill P.
The
Once
buxom
again,
Bill P?
the buxom Bill P.
Buxom.
I'm just
The beautiful.
pulls up
The full
now.
of the beautiful. Middle position.
Daytime drama, Bill P.
Let the man say hello.
Hi.
And then, America's favorite twins, Sean
Hello.
and Aaron.
Nope.
Nope. He's going to deny that.
Fuck this guy.
What's up?
So, first on the docket, as per usual, new releases. The Tau, this month, it looks like, from what I heard.
October.
Fuck you.
call it
I'm not
October.
calling it October. It's
I will
bullshit.
call it October.
It's pretty valid, though.
It's awful. Bah.
But you have to admit, the Storm Surge looks awesome.
It does. It is a cool looking model. It's not. It doesn't seem too terrible.
It looks like it has T-Rex arms, though. Like, does it even have arms? I think it's all missiles.
It's all missile pods.
It's all missiles, so it's just looking weird.
It looks kind of BattleTech.
Yeah.
Kind of like the armless robot
Yeah.
thing kind of works for me.
Looks kind of Robotech, almost.
Kill yourself.
The big controversy is the open crew compartment.
There's an open crew compartment?
Yep.
What's...
Yeah. So,
It's right on the top towards the head of the
It's kind
model.
of a weird
I think,
Soviet
is it open top?
protect.
Yes.
Is it open top
Oh, it's an open
I
top.
don't know if it's an open top vehicle because it's actually, if I remember correctly, a jetpack monstrous creature. It's not a
Another
vehicle.
one?
yeah.
Wow,
People are
okay.
just mad that there wasn't an extra piece, I think,
To put it
put
over it.
So that
You know what?
didn't
There's
have
enough
to
bits
see
out
it.
there you can put one over it.
Someone will do something neat. Something will do something neat with it.
People just needed stuff to complain about.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
When it came out.
They're going to fucking cry about anything.
What's weird about it is the crisis suit head next to the crew compartment. It's clearly like away from where they are. It's like, well, that's normally where they see from, but they're over here and they have that little window. What's the fucking crisis suit head for?
And if
Sensors.
it bends over, how do they stay in? Because there's no seat
Yeah.
belts. You know, little things.
Tau repulsor.
No,
technology.
yeah, they have gravity.
Grab
Yeah.
attachments.
They use gravity. I mean, how does
But,
it work? It's
I mean,
like magnets.
It's magnets.
Also the what is it? The ghost keel, whatever the
Ghost
other
Kel.
one, the ghost
Ghost
keel.
Keel or whatever.
That has an open compartment too, from what I've seen.
No, that closes.
It has an option to close.
Okay, that's the same.
Well, I mean, that can also be an open compartment, so it's the same thing. And who knows? The new crisis suits may have the same option.
Yeah, they're basing that off of the sprues that
Yeah.
people could see. So you don't know until you see it.
Exactly.
Yeah. It'll be something neat. It doesn't, like I said, rules-wise, I think from my understanding, it doesn't seem too crazy in comparison to a lot of the other things.
No, I think there's a couple undefined pieces, like what signature gear and how some of the other parts play out. So it sort of remains to be seen whether
Yeah,
or not it's gonna be
they
super
know-
crazy. But
We kind of know what the weapons are at this point, but we don't know any of the other gear that it has.
Special rules and stuff.
Special
Too.
rules, yeah.
So the one thing I will say, because I had a little bit of a rage tangent on it, I think,
The Taunar.
the Taunar.
The KX-139 Supremacy Armor.
Fuck that thing. Fuck that
But it's
thing.
only ballistic skill 4, man.
I haven't seen the stats for it yet, but
straight-
it looks awesome.
You don't need the stats. Fuck it. It's got a D weapon and it's got anti-D.
I'll read
able
off
to
what
kill
it
it.
is.
Yes, please.
Weapon skill 3, ballistic skill 4, strength 8, toughness 9, 10 wounds, initiative 2, 2 attacks, leadership 9, 2 plus armor save.
Yeah, fuck you. 10 wounds.
Then it's a gargantuan monstrous creature. It's got fear, fearless, hammer of wrath, unstoppable, move through cover, relentless, smash, strike down. But it's got a barrier, shield generator, vigilance defense system, 1 pulse ordnance multi-driver system, 2 arm-mounted tri-axis ion cannons, which is fucking disgusting.
You know, to just say these things, it sounds like
So the
Japanese.
So the tri-axis ion cannon
Yeah.
has 2 different firing variants. Standard, which is 60-inch range, strength 7, AP 3, heavy 6. So 2 of those just fucking going on.
It's Twin Link too, isn't it?
No, it's not.
Ah, okay.
And then there's the coherent version, the coherent beam, 60-inch range, strength 9, AP 2, heavy 3. Again, 2 arms that do that.
Yep.
Then it can do its pulse ordnance multi-driver, which also has 2 different varied wavelengths or whatever. Concentrated bombardment, which is 72-inch range, strength D, AP 2, ordnance 1, massive blast, 7-inch blast. Then there's the pattern bombardment, which is 12 to 120 inches, strength 8, AP 3, apocalyptic barrage 3, pinning, no cover saves, heavy 5. No, pinning, no cover saves. Then they have the fusion eradicator, which you can switch out the tri-axis ion cannons for, which are 24-inch range, strength 8, AP 1, heavy 5 melta. Say goodbye to your fucking Baneblade.
You.
Well, so
Well,
it's a
Baneblades always
gargantuous
been
monster.
shit.
It's a gargantuan monstrous creature, right?
Correct.
So it can still only fire 2 of those weapons around, right?
It's not clear on if that's how the rules work, and I think people are leaning away from that particular ruling. But it does have stomp, and it does have feel no pain.
Yeah.
And it's got a shield that ignores D.
Oh yeah, it's got the barrier shield generator.
Nothing
The
can
shield,
ignore the
the barrier shield provides a 5+ vulnerable save. It increases to a 4+ against shooting attacks, and when a model with a barrier shield is struck by a destroyer attack and a death blow result occurs, the amount of wounds inflicted is halved, but the shield stops working until the start of the controlling player's next turn.
See, nothing stops the D.
See,
It just
At least
slows
can
not-
only be
Not
contained.
completely.
to me, the defensive stats are irrelevant because I don't think there's any way you could kill it in 6 turns.
No, not at all.
The guns don't actually impress me that much. I just think that the body of the thing is basically indestructible.
The Vigilance Defense System it comprises 2 smart missile systems and 2 twin-linked burst cannons, which can be fired normally. In addition, these weapons can be used to make Overwatch attacks at BS2, contrary to the usual rules for gargantuan creatures. So it also has that going for it.
So it can fire more than
600
2.
points, though. You are paying a
Oh, yeah.
costly price tag.
Yes.
And it can fuck pound a Warhound Titan.
Can gargantuan
Yes, it can.
creatures play Overwatch?
I think so.
I don't
Yeah.
think so.
I think they can.
Gargantuans, I think, typically can.
Of course, the guy that chimes in.
Super-
that has
no,
a
super
Warhound.
heavy.
And I think it's the same with gargantuans. But in
was
this
that?
case, they explicitly can.
Yeah.
I was like, of course,
So
the
not
guy
only
that
can
chimes
it,
in
but it can
about
do it at a
yeah,
better
can
pace.
fuck
Yes,
down a
yeah.
Warhound would chime in because he has one.
I'm also a little bit concerned about how marker lights synergize with it. It's
Oh.
not just that it's good
Yeah.
on its own.
Yeah.
It's the army that it's involved in.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the bigger issues. Like,
Remove
acid
cover.
blast D weapon with no cover saves is problematic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And-
Or if you're
and
playing with the
ballistic
thing on your
skill and
side,
everything else
awesome.
on it.
How does that work though? You target something with marker lights, you remove the marker lights. So if I target, a squad here and there's another squad next to it and it's hit by
It's only the
massive
squad with the
blast,
It's only the
so
squad with
just
marker
that
lights
squad
on it.
that's getting. So it's not
Yes.
so crazy.
Yeah.
connected.
You spend marker light tokens to affect the squad with the tokens.
Yeah. So you could mark up both squads and get a blast template over both and take it's in the current codex, I think 2 marker lights to ignore cover. So take 2 marker lights off each unit and then put the blast over it, and then both units don't get the cover.
Okay, that's better.
A little bit.
A little bit better.
Sure.
And then you take the remaining marker lights and just pull them off to bring it up to ballistic skill like 7.
Right.
Of course.
So I guess a large squad that's particularly painful, especially if it's orcs and they're relying on cover to a certain extent anyway. That hurts very badly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other stuff that doesn't hurt.
So it states under the rulebook for gargantuan and flying gargantuan creatures, when a gargantuan creature or flying gargantuan creature makes a shooting attack, it may fire each of its weapons at a different target if desired. It doesn't say how many it can fucking fire. It can fire indiscriminately, one at anybody.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm buying one of those tomorrow then.
In addition, firing ordnance weapons has no effect on a gargantuan creature or flying gargantuan creature's ability to fire other weapons. Gargantuan creatures and flying gargantuan creatures cannot fire Overwatch, but this fucker can with its smart missile systems and its burst cannons.
At BS2.
At BS2. Have fun.
Yeah, that sounds
And if it
fair.
has supporting fire, any other Tau unit within 6 inches of it, yeah.
Yep. Can suck a dick.
And isn't the corn skull taker thing, isn't that like 800 some points? And nowhere near as effective
A
as
Harry
Skulls?
for the Tyranids is 650.
Yeah.
How?
And is it anywhere near as effective
No.
as this? Exactly.
I mean, it's a flyer, but
Well,
How does poison affect gargantuan
Oh,
creatures?
so
Sixes.
Yeah, you need
Sixes.
6s to wound them instead of the. Now, the Vindicare Assassin does not have poison. It has a shot that does wounds on a 2+ no matter what. So that is your way around it a little bit because
you can do
the
you can do
Vindicare
one.
does not give a shit about your poison attacks.
You can do 1 wound for a at max 7-turn game against a mono with
Or you
10
just
wounds.
not give a shit and just
And it
run
still
10
has
of them.
a 4-up invulnerable save.
And then a
Yeah.
feel
So
no pain.
you're still does.
yeah.
It's got feel no pain too.
Gargantuan creatures.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
That's
Why?
a challenge to kill. That's a big deal.
I want to see that fight of Warhound Titan.
You can't target it.
I already
it's
know
gonna
the
win.
Warhound Titan will die.
Yeah,
I could take 2 and it wouldn't do anything.
put it against the Warlord.
You need to fight it with a Night Titan in close combat.
That'd be fun.
But even then, it's
Even then,
negating
you still
some of
get a
the
5-up
D
invul.
weapon, right?
To an extent. Only the death blow.
I don't know.
The
Well,
invulnerable save is active all the time. But it
beyond
can't
that,
stop you
since kind of still Tau oriented, but the Tau and Raven Guard boxes.
Looking forward to that shit.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not looking forward to the price tag because if you part it all out, it's like $110 for the Raven Guard one, whereas all I'm getting out of it is a 32-page booklet and the character.
That character looks
He does look cool, but I don't know if that's $30 worth of cool.
Dude, the Stern Guard looked fucking sick, though.
It's a Stern Guard box and a Vanguard box and a Land Speeder.
Oh, I thought they had, like, special Raven
No.
Guard bits. Really?
No, nothing is special about it.
Nah, the only thing about
Just the character.
Yeah, the special character.
Special character leader. Captain
Because the
Solak.
helmets look different.
Just on Captain Solak.
Okay.
Just back to Tau real quick.
Yeah.
There is speculation that there is terrain, Tau specific terrain.
There is a
which would
box
be
of
big
terrain
deal.
actually coming with the Raven Guard box. It's going to be a Raven Guard box, Tau box, and a box of terrain.
that would be
So
cool.
that'll be
So
cool.
that
So-
does that mark the beginning of Xenos terrain? That would be super
Finally.
cool. So
That would be nice.
Give me those Tyranid Capital
It's-
Towers. I want those.
So they an article went up in the German White Dwarf, and some of the translations are a little fuzzy, but it's a moving platform that's armed. It's got weapons and drones that detach, so it can move around the battlefield.
That's pretty
It's
fucking
kind
cool.
of interesting.
and I think the Breacher team or the Fire Warrior squad gets the turret that they can
Yes,
set
the
up.
Breacher team, I believe.
So they
So
did
what
some
it-
really cool, flavorful stuff.
What exactly is the Breacher team? Has anyone seen
It's a
anything?
10-man unit. I think it's like 45 or 55 points. It's mostly like they're like Pathfinders, kind of.
From what I've heard, they're kind of alternate fire warriors. I would equate, from what I've seen, they're the Tau equivalent of scouts.
They're fire warriors with pulse carbines that become more powerful the closer you get to a unit.
Yeah.
So ultimately, within 5 inches of an opponent, they become Strength 6 AP 3, I think. And they're, I think, Assault 2, which is really interesting because you've got a unit that wants to be mobile. It's got an invulnerable save.
And wants to get close as Tau.
and wants to get close, which I think could lead to some interesting, like, close range infantry play with Tau.
Absolutely.
And then they can place the support turret, which has a missile pod, which is interesting, although kind of conflicts a little bit with the probably mobile nature you want.
But did you read the other part about it? It sets it up. It stays there and is destroyed if they move, but then
They
they
can
can
set
do
it
it
back
again.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So they came up with something conceptually that works to keep them mobile while still having it.
Yeah, it's unique, and I like the idea. It looks like fun gameplay.
Yeah, I'm psyched about that. I also like the Ghost Keel stealth field.
Yeah.
generator
Yeah,
with that.
I like how the progression of their technology has expanded throughout their creation. As a player that started in 3rd edition, they weren't around then, like, until the very ass end of 3rd. So it just slowly grew. It's neat to see how they've expanded.
Absolutely. And kind of in a direction I don't think many of us would have necessarily seen coming. I think one of the obvious ideas would have been them trying to go more Kroot heavy, because it's not been as
Or just
established.
bringing in other races.
Other races.
Yeah, because it's the Empire.
I mean,
Yeah,
I like the
that's-
Vespids that they're included. I mean, you mostly, when you play against Tau, you're mostly just seeing these fire warriors or whatever, and then maybe 1 or 2 squads of Kroot. I never see Vespids anymore.
No.
They used to have a really cool gun. It was AP3. It used
I
to
think
shred
it's
Marines.
still AP3, but they're just...
shitty. Like, they're on like a shitty model. Like, they're just not good.
And they only have like a 5-up save, I think. It's too easy of a unit to get
They're
shredded.
expensive.
Yeah. No, but it would be interesting. So next on the list, something that is near and dear to both bills, the Tyranid rumor supposedly coming up. I have heard nothing of this. It was just brought to my attention by Hobbit Bill.
So
I think it just came out like today-ish.
well,
or, like,
today
rumors
there's also
today.
the Synapse rule that leaked about 2 weeks ago that they're saying may be a new Synapse rule. Which, if it is, I'll be very happy with that change. I know me, Bill, and Sam have talked several times about how Synapse needs to do something for Tyranids other than what it does now. So if the leaked rule is true, I'll be very happy.
What's the leak?
What is the leak rule? Yeah.
If I remember correctly, it's something along the lines of if there's a Tyranid creature in Synapse, it gains Feel No Pain on a 6-up, I think. And if a Tyranid creature has Synapse, so if it's a Synapse creature, it gains the Eternal Warrior special rule, which means warriors become playable.
Does it stack with any other Tyranids that might already have Feel No Pain or anything?
And from the leak, it didn't
Okay.
say.
Do you think this would be an interesting way for them to try and get away from just the single play of Tyranids of Monstrous Creature spam to maybe a little more variety of items?
Well, like Bill said, it certainly opens up warriors, which is kind of a big deal.
Yep.
That there was a lot of speculation based on that rule, that leak. Though it followed a format and font that made it fairly suspect as to whether or not it was.
Some
fan
folks are
fiction
saying
or
that it's
something.
not an actual rule that's being played and tested, but you never know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been a lot of like people wish listing
That
Synapse
exact
would give
thing,
Feel No
yeah.
Pain, so. But it would be fantastic. It doesn't seem like it would be super overpowered. It does address the issue of right now Synapse merely removes a penalty that's in place for no particular reason. So there's a serious imbalancing for them to do that. But I haven't heard today's rumor.
So today's rumor, there's actually a few of them. The first big one that I heard is that there's some sort of Tyranid release coming towards the beginning of November. Some people are speculating that it's the Gene Stealer cult, which was rumored back in April that there would be Gene Stealer cult coming out in November. And there's another rumor that dropped today saying there's some Tyranid related release coming in November. The other one was the new Tyranid Codex is supposedly coming, if not January 2016. It's going to be coming very early, first quarter 2016.
All right, that's not an unreasonable rumor. I think it's just demons, Tyranids, and
Chaos.
Marines.
I'm really
That's
surprised that we haven't
left.
heard real shit about Chaos. That's really the one I thought they were going to push next. but-
Well, actually, so that's another rumor that dropped today.
All right.
I'll just jump right off of Tyranids.
Captain Rumor Mill, go for it.
This is what I get for reading the internet before I come here.
I should have done the same.
There's another rumor that there's also some sort of Daemon release coming in early December, late November. Again, going back to that leaked list back in
We can only
April.
hope for Demonkin. Like, Morgankin, Zinch
Zinch
stuff.
is what I've been hearing.
Even Slanesh. I think Slanesh would
Slash
they
would
need
be
it.
so much fun.
They really need it, I think. I think it would be really beneficial for Slanesh.
And if you read the rumor today, the Slanesh is the only one where the plastic Greater Demon model is apparently on ice. The other ones are all ready to go, and apparently, except for the Slanesh.
Yay, me! And I love to play Slanesh stuff. Fuck me, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh.
Fuck you and your Slanesh.
I think the challenge with that kind of release is with only those 3 codices left, if you add on a specific one for each of the other gods, that actually bumps it out a fair amount. And I think it also creates a lot of challenges for them in terms of Chaos Space Marines, because the interesting problem they've created for themselves is changing a cost in the Demons book or the Chaos Space Marine book and not changing it in one of these other books.
Because it's really intertwined the units.
It's Blood
Space
Angels
Marines,
versus
Blood Angels.
It's Blood Angels versus Space Marines again.
Yeah. So they have this overarching problem that they have now created for themselves, and they need a clever solution, I think, to... Well, I don't know. They don't
FAQ
really
would
care,
be
but whatever.
fantastic.
Yeah.
What are those?
It seems like that would be a good solution.
I don't think they're going to do any more Demonkin books. I think the Khorne thing was a once and done to sell the big Bloodthirster, and it's a cool book. I just don't think they're going to do...
I enjoyed playing them, honestly. Ever since I picked up Demonkin off of you, Sam, I've really enjoyed them. I thought it was an interesting take with Khorne, and the Blood Tithe, I think, was an awesome piece of role that really brought the army together. I thought the intertwining of actual demons and Khorne Berserkers and that sort of thing was real cool. The only odd thing I found was, let's face it, the best close combat weapon in the Chaos book is the Khorne weapon that is not in the Demonkin book. The Axe of Blind Fury.
Yeah, you've got fucking D-weapons up the ass of your Bloodthirster.
D-weapon.
D-weapon. Who
Weapon
cares?
strikes last.
You
too.
will rape faces anyway. So, you get free Bloodthirsters if you really want.
Yeah. It's not really free. I have to kill off half of my army to get it. But,
Not yours. You can kill other people's stuff.
Feasibly, yeah, and then make the leadership test, which last time I played failed.
Serve you right.
Happens. But yeah, I'll go into some new product releases. We don't really actually have much for product releases in terms. A lot of it's kind of apps. And one thing that Sean had brought up, the White Dwarf app, which I think is a really interesting and great product line.
I like it. It's out on iOS and Android. I just got it. I've got 2 of the White Dwarfs so far. I think they have 10 of the weekly magazines up there now. I don't think they're putting Visions, like the Warhammer Visions,
The catalog?
up there. I don't know why they wouldn't. I mean, it seems very straightforward how they could. It doesn't hurt them by not putting it up there.
Yeah.
But I mean, for the White Dwarf itself, it's only $2.99 on BlackLibrary.com. It's $3.99 for White Dwarf e-editions. It might have changed since the White Dwarf app came out, but I mean, it's very easily accessible. I don't have to worry about shuffling around and re-downloading shit. It's point and click. It's very simple.
It sounds like a neat thing to try.
I'm actually downloading it right now because I had no idea this was out until just this
Oh,
month.
yeah. If you'd like, I think I have the Ghost Keel rules on it.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
Neat.
Yeah, never miss an issue with a great value subscription. So you can get a subscription through it, too. It just automatically downloads it for you.
That's not bad. What's the total subscription?
Let's check. Oh, I don't want to fucking pay for it right now, though. Let's see.
Not a big deal. But another item that we were looking at, other than the White Dwarf app, the rules came out, and we were looking at it, was Scarbrand. You had posted up the rules for Scarbrand, which was almost...
It's just a rehash of the original Scarbrand rules, just
Okay.
made it pretty, and they released a GW version model instead of you having to use, like, a standard Bloodthirster.
Another model that was left out of the Khorne Demon King Codex.
Yeah, but, I mean, what is his background? Didn't he, like, rebel against Khorne?
Yeah,
He was one of the Bloodthirsters that rebelled, but still...
He was tricked into kind of like challenging Khorne, basically, and he got thrown out. He shows up in the presence of Khorne warbands to just rip stuff apart. If there was any character that was going to go in that book, it would have been Scarbrand. I think.
And he's not too bad. I mean,
You still don't have Karn in that book either,
No,
right?
don't have
that
Karn
makes
in that
no
book.
fucking sense to me. Karn should have been in it.
No.
Well, by the way, jumping back to the White Dwarf subscription thing, looks like it's $8.99 for a month and $94.99 for a year.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah,
But
the physical editions, it's like $150 for them to send you a monthly fucking magazine.
Yeah, so that's not a bad deal. I mean, if that's something you wanted... I kind of wish they'd go back to the old White Dwarfs. They actually had rules and
I
things.
miss
but-
the old White Dwarf, man. Like, the old chapter approved. God.
Yeah. I mean, the old White Dwarf was something you almost had to have every month, and now it's more like a merchandise catalog, which is fine, but...
Yeah, I mean, but remember when the old White Dwarf used to come out, it would be pointless to even read it around the Christmas time because of all the Hobbit shit that was in it.
Yeah.
So you'd want to...
Thank God that's done with now.
Thank God.
And now we may be getting demons instead of hobbits.
True, which would be kind of neat. It'll be interesting to see what they push the holiday season then instead of Hobbit stuff.
Maybe they can actually push their own fucking products.
Well, yeah, granted, but, whatever. So, next bit, we usually like to bring up either a unit or a model or some kind of rules involved that we kind of discuss, talk over, and check and see. Usually it would be a new unit. This time, I'm going to switch it up a little bit. It's getting around that time of the tournament season. One thing that's always been brought up is different tournament rules, different tournament level FAQs. We're actually having one of our own tournaments coming up soon, so this is kind of a...
October 31st.
Yes, October 31st, and we will mention it again to try and jam it into your brains as much as humanly possible, the Fall Brawl. But just to kind of go over tournament rules and FAQs and some things that could be helpful for us, along with anyone else, I think. Some things that were discussed. I know, Bill, Sam, you guys had some decent ideas that you were bringing to the table about things. Fire away.
Well, I think, generally speaking, the most critical thing is having having worked out in advance the major issues and having them written down in a clear source where people can see in advance how you're handling some of the particulars of unclear rules. For instance, one thing that's going to need a direct answer one way or the other is what happens with Dark Angel's Ravenwing characters. There's no character in the book other than Samael right now that has the actual Ravenwing rule. It's pretty clear that a character on a bike should have the Ravenwing rule, but that's going to be a point of contention unless it's spelled out.
Yeah, I mean you can follow the rules as written, but then you can, for the Ravenwing formation, you can literally only have Samael, even though it says you have 2 optional HQ choices.
And this is the big thing that I think tournament organizer needs to be looking for is keeping up with the controversy on Daka on the you make the call or on Bell of Lost Souls, and seeing what people have questions about and seeing how the community at large is handling it, and then just having an answer on it one way or the other.
Yeah.
Or adopting a more prominent tournaments established rule set if you don't want to invest the time in it. But people should have a clear answer, and more importantly, one of the things we were talking about is that it sucks if you're in a tournament and you adhere to rules because your group has figured it out, and then somebody else isn't following those same rules, and then there's a ruling that goes against it or whatever. If you just didn't know to ask, and a lot of things it's pretty well hashed out within the greater community whether or not something's a question or an issue. Somebody's asked that question. One of the great things about the internet, it just makes sense to have a stance one way or another going into it so that people know that. And if you're going to make a call outside of that or in the moment, that you make sure that it's clearly communicated to everybody in the tournament, because especially if there's other people playing that same army, so that there's not a differentiation. The other thing, or one of the other things we were talking about is just the concept of validating the army beforehand. If you if we say that this is the format for this tournament we're going to hold, and you have to adhere to these rules, who's making somebody be beholden to those rules if you don't validate it at the TO level? And then what happens if somebody didn't follow the rules and they get part of the way through the tournament, and more importantly, if they start to win and then somebody says, well, hey, how are you even doing that, because that seems to run against the rules. So
absolutely.
It's a
why
big burden.
Why do your gene stealers have twin-leg devours of brain leech worms?
I mean, yeah.
You joke around. I have no clue. What, is that a thing?
And all that.
We have to remember is most of us have no idea what half the Tyranid babble you just said.
That's why I'm throwing that one out there.
Exactly.
And there's lots of unclear stuff and stuff like, obviously list validation. That's something that saves time and energy and grief for everybody involved, but especially the tournament organizer who's got to, make a calling, on the field if they didn't, think about this stuff.
So for someone like Sean's pretty much the big one, headlining a lot of the Fall Brawl stuff. Do you think for us that would be organizing the Fall Brawl tournament, it would be best to say you almost have to pre-register? You have to put that list in. I mean, even if it's like a week ahead of time, just so we can say, okay, this fits.
One thing about our tournament is it's a pretty minor buy-in. It's just for fun. Sean clearly states that up front as part of the thing. And I think the more competitive it is, the more price support, the more you're charging for an entrance fee, the more of an obligation you have to get a lot of the components right. And state them up front and whatnot. And I think, the Ravenwind thing is a big deal because it's popular. It's a common piece. There's some other rules questions like firing blast weapons with the Skyfire rule at flying monstrous creatures, which are less likely to come up but still might. And there's other even odder permutations where somebody would have to take a particular variation on an army or a particular Forge World rule or something to come up against it. On the other hand, matters like Psychic Shriek requiring a to-hit roll is a big deal. Roughly at least half is probably of the armies at play are going to have access to it or actively be using it. Everybody should be on the same page as to whether or not it uses it.
And it's definitely an interesting point, especially the Psychic Shriek one, because of how widespread it is and how widespread the whole telepathy field is.
Even with invisibility. I mean, the tournament scene has nerfed that for what, a year and a half, 2 years easily.
Not all events play with that. A lot of the ITC events don't use nerfed invisibility necessarily. But yeah, I mean, there's not really a consensus about that. But talking about the ITC, stuff like Psychic Shriek having a roll to hit, and how things work with demons and psychic focus and so forth. That's the kind of stuff that it doesn't hurt to have in a document in advance that says, yes, this is how this works. This is how specifically in detail our detachment system works. This is how, can you ally Chaos Space Marines and Black Legion or not?
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff that can be in a document. And, you don't, as a TO, you don't have to necessarily come up with that off the top of your head, although you could if you wanted to. There's certainly enough, other events out there that have kind of come to a consensus,
and it makes it tough.
Build on.
And it makes it tough, especially right now, where there are so many different options of styles of play to build an army. So you can't just say detachment because there's 9,000 different detachment orientations you can come up with. Formations, data slates are their own weird little thing, like
Codex versus faction
versus supplement.
Yeah. It's a big deal, and I think probably the most sensible way to do it is to say we're going to follow this format as a basis, but these rules, the rules that we state here, trump that. Otherwise, it's otherwise it's ITC, FAQs, and
but part of it is also, I mean, it sounds like we're saying, oh yeah, tournament organizers, you need to know all this stuff and you need to do all that. Part of it's also, if you're going to a tournament and you got a question about something, ask the TO. Facebook, email, ask them when you get there, and just, make sure that you ask them your questions. Don't not ask something because...
be proactive.
Yeah.
That's right, and that's a fantastic point. If you know you're going to take something that's going to be potentially controversial, you should do that. Although Sam and I were having a sidebar about the fact that sometimes you can phrase the question in such a way to try to get the answer that you want. So I think TOs have to be a little bit careful about that. And then also, again, make sure if somebody asks that, the problem is if it's a sidebar question, then you have to make sure you communicate that to the group. If it's a question that's asked beforehand, wherever you posted the rules, you should probably update that and say, hey guys, this question came up, here's what the deal is. I don't know if the Fall Brawl is going to rise to that level of intensity.
Ultimately, I would revert to, since GW doesn't know how to write a fucking FAQ or errata anymore, I would just lean on Frontline Gaming's ITC information, just because it's there.
They're a model company. They're not a game company.
I understand. They're for collectors only.
And lots of respect to the TOs that are trying to work this stuff out. It's a huge job.
Yeah, this is no easy task. So for anyone to try and undertake this is a huge, huge, huge commitment.
Me doing it on my such a small end with like a full-time job and a life, I don't know how these people that have children and full-time jobs and all this other crazy shit going on in their lives, how they can manage it.
And you got to figure most of this is done voluntarily.
Yeah.
I mean, people aren't making a job out of this.
Yeah, and it's usually done by consensus, like a group, like a council, so...
Yeah, and that makes it difficult. But, I mean, for all the suggestions and things we do say about TOs, as some of us have been TOs, and we know many TOs out there, by no means is this critical. It's a very difficult thing, but it's something I think should be said to, bring awareness to this sort of stuff. For us who run our own tournaments from time to time, they might be small, but something we should definitely look into.
And it's hard when you're, if there's a heated debate between rules as intended or rules as written or just total interpretation, you're going to make some people mad. Or you're going to have some people...
It's bound to happen.
You can't make everybody happy, fuck them.
You're going to have a bad time.
Yeah, and that makes it difficult.
You got to accept that coming into it too. You've got to be respectful of the TO, take the ruling and whatnot, and roll with that. And that's another important part is you're going into it as long as you know what it is. You've got to kind of accept what the person puts forward and.
Yeah, and I know with the difference between Codex, Supplement, Data Slate, and everything. I know one thing that I was toying around with Sean in regards to like some campaign stuff we were doing because we were going to do. Sean actually did it once with primary source, secondary source. I came up with a list of things that would be listed as a primary source. So like a Codex, maybe certain supplements, and that will be listed as a primary source. And then you have expansions and data slates and things like Cypher, for instance, secondary source. Assassins, secondary source. Codex Dark Angels, primary source. The Black Legion Codex, primary source.
That is a primary source, yeah.
So-
mean, that is a codex to me.
Exactly. So something like that, having a list of, okay, this is what's considered a primary source. You're allowed one primary source for your army. This is what's considered a secondary source. You're allowed one secondary source for your army. Something along those lines. Or no secondary sources, one primary source.
And the trick is not having rules that require a law degree to
Yes.
figure out how to build the army. Because, at some point it's like tax code if you're having to get to that granularity. And that's a whole other challenge, on top of the fact that for every restriction you put into place, you change the meta. I think we were talking about a good article. Was it Bell of Lost Souls?
Oh yeah. If you like it, for instance, if you nerf D weapons, then invulnerable rerolling Death Stars take over. Or if you don't have super heavies, then X, Y, and Z take over, and it's kind of like, as soon as you
Nerf invisibility, it changes.
It changes
Right.
the meta.
one thing takes over after another. And
Bellicor no longer makes sense if invisibilities, or it makes less sense.
Yeah,
It has this interesting cause and effect for every new rule you put into place, especially if it runs counter to the existing rules.
Which is difficult
the
too,
same
and it would be nice to think that we could trust Games Workshop in their ability to write a rule and develop an FAQ, but unfortunately
They
we're
can't
all
even
putting
copy and
this-
paste correctly. So
Exactly.
My faith in them has been...
So we can't
Just
put that
stunted.
we can't put that kind of a faith in them, and it's left up to us to try and interpret it what would be the fairest way possible. And I mean, no one's ever said that Warhammer or Fantasy or any of the Games Workshop style games are the most balanced. If you want super balance, you go to like War Machine or something along those lines. And
You know
even
what?
that,
But even with War Machine and Hordes, at least if they fuck up a rule, they'll fix it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, they don't give a shit. They make no qualms about it. I think they put stuff up on the internet to
The
fix
Crix
things.
thing with the tournaments where they
Yeah.
adjusted like the first turn start zone for every single tournament because of that one Crix thing they can do. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, but then again, that's also a game system that's aimed more towards a tournament play, whereas 40K generally isn't. But still, you can't say this isn't aimed towards tournament and tell
I
people
don't know,
not to
because
play
I mean,
tournaments.
with how heavy GW used to have tournaments all over the place, they've gotten away from it because they really can't support it monetarily. So they've had to rethink their whole business model.
Yeah.
It's just stupid.
And for how many armies there are, at least in 40K, and now with all the additions of supplements and addendums and data slates, it makes it that much more difficult to try and balance one out over another.
I think they're just getting away from the whole errata and FAQ because they can just update their e-books so fast and so quickly that they don't have to even give a shit anymore, and they want you to spend double the amount of money.
Fuck the ebook, they could just print out another codex.
Exactly. Just throw a chapter proof symbol on it again like they used to.
Done. So that another interesting kind of basis on it, but I agree. I think, especially in terms of a tournament, having this kind of foreknowledge, and you're going to miss something. Everybody misses
Oh,
something.
you're not going to know everything.
No, by no means. Even a group of people, you got to have a group of 20, 30 people, you're still going to miss something. But I think definitely having that stuff out there ahead of time, and us as tournament goers and us as game enthusiasts, I guess you could call it, and hobbyers, it's our responsibility if we have a question to bring it up. To bring it up ahead of time with enough notice that the TO
Bring it up
can...
ahead of time, and then also don't fight the tournament organizer at the event. Just take it at face value.
Yeah.
They're just trying to do their job that they're not getting paid for.
Exactly.
I was just thinking, I guess I've never run a tournament. I don't particularly intend to. But if I was going to and somebody asked me a question, I think I'd be inclined to say, you're clearly asking me a question for a reason. Do you know what both sides of the fence are? Do you know what's your position? Let's really talk about, assuming it was ahead of time or if there was time for a sidebar. But it's one of those things where there's, what's the saying? There's no attention without intention. Chances are somebody didn't come up with it just off the cuff. They're asking because they know that there's a need for that ruling, and I'd be inclined to want to know what they really thought about it.
What they want the ruling to be.
Yeah, and not necessarily because I want to deny it to them, but I've played a lot of D&D with a lot of people who... One person particularly comes into mind who was really good about asking questions of the DM. Bits and pieces here and there. In the end, it turned into a super powerful thing that had been totally approved by the DM, but the guy was just clever enough to ask these questions. And I don't think you can really do that with 40K, but I think whenever you're in a position where you're making a ruling on something, it's incumbent upon you to really understand the different sides of the fence and to make a ruling. And in some cases, I think if you're a TO and it's really going to affect the outcome of that game, even though it seems like it should be urgent for you to give a response, I would be inclined to say, I'm going to step away, I'm going to confer with the other judges, really look at this rule, maybe see if we can find what it is online. This goes back to why it makes sense to just use ITC, though.
Yeah.
Or some other...
Because it's already been developed.
They've already figured it out. Why reinvent that wheel?
And it might not be perfect, but it's damn near close to anything else.
It's better than what you're going to come up with in the spur of the moment, and that's why that just brings us back to the original point. It makes sense to have defaulted to that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah. That's about what I've got. I think we're all kind of in agreement in regards to the FAQs. I mean, other than the fact we would all love if Games Workshop would actually put one out every now and again. But beyond that, I mean, that's...
The rule book is more than enough. Why would they ever need to re-release? They are infallible.
You don't have Space Marine chapters that have like 5 different books with 5 different rules for the same unit.
I don't know what you're talking about.
No one here plays Blood Angels. Bill?
Not anymore.
Well,
No, but it's an ongoing topic, and you can't talk about Warhammer half the time without somehow bringing up the tournament scene, because it's a game that has tournaments. It's a competitive game. It's going to have tournaments. You can't even fathom the idea that you're making a game where you play against another person, or you and a team play against another team, and not in some way figure this is going to figure into a tournament. It's just not possible. It's not feasible. You could have any kind of a game. Bolt Action. Bolt Action is a World War II based historical game. They have tournaments because it is a competitive game where one person plays against another person. So you have to, when you build a game like that, figure that there is going to be a tournament scene, and you have to have some responsibility to make sure that it doesn't have to be perfect, but some modicum of responsibility to keep it as close as possible.
Well, I think it's unethical to charge what they charge for codices and then claim
Yes.
that it's not about the game. If they were freely distributing the rules and just creating the models, it would support their claims. But
you can't charge $60 for a codex and expect it to just be a model company.
You shouldn't.
No.
But I will say, we as consumers should be fighting that, and we're not a cohesive enough community to say, we're just going to demonstrate our power for a week. We're going to refrain from all purchases on all sources just to show you that if we want to, we'll shut you down if you don't make better choices.
Yeah.
and I think most of our every GW customer, they'll first and foremost go and bitch to the internet before they make GW pay for any of their bullshit. We don't force them to have to rethink their model. We just don't.
No.
We just fucking internet flame them, and then what do we do the following week? We go and buy another box, or we go and we make another purchase. Even my $2.99 purchase for White Dwarf is still fucking just churning more bullshit from them.
But you know that's a great point.
Funny about Sigmar
back
statue.
in the day, if you wanted to complain to a company, you were going to send a letter. And I mean, if everybody filled out a comment section on the same day, you know, even if you didn't refrain from,
It's why they got rid of their Facebook page.
Yeah.
And it's why they got rid of their forums. They used to have an actual forum where you discuss all kinds of different shit, and they completely...
Well, it was that and Flame Wars.
That was also a time when you could call a hotline to get a rules.
Oh, dude, I remember. Dude, that's so good.
And you could call back 5 minutes later and get a
Was it
different
Black
answer.
Dabo? Was that?
No, I think it was like 40K, like you make the call or something like that.
Yeah,
or
I think-
like something like that.
I just love the fact if you waited and called back like 5 minutes later, you could get a completely different answer. Because it was literally just some dude probably sitting at home
I
like...
think you can still
Yeah, I think
email
this
in
works.
questions to them though. I'm
Yeah,
pretty
there-
positive.
I think you
There are
can.
some
And then
people
they'll
that
try to
provide
they'll try to help as best they can. But who's to say that this person that works customer service for them
Doesn't play that army.
plays at all?
Yeah.
I worked for Iron Mountain and I didn't fucking use them for anything.
Well, you also didn't have record storage.
I didn't need to. So do I care?
But yeah, I mean it's a whole other point entirely. Trying to get an entire customer base against them. I think to a degree people have just through eBay sales. I think that's kind of fucked over the fact that they try to screw over brick and mortar. Some of that maybe, but not in the same extent, unfortunately.
It depends on whether or not their management is actually sending people who work there to figure out those numbers, to actually figure out what's the how much are we losing in revenue through eBay, how much are we losing through retailers doing XYZ, how much are we losing towards countries that don't have laws doing knockoffs or other companies creating something that's substantially similar. I think it sucks for Tyranid players that we're probably always going to be somewhat screwed because you can make almost anything that works for them. The Chaos too. I really think that
With the
part of the
Demon
reason
Princes.
that we don't get more is they know that they've created something that they can't really copyright, and it's too easy to have just alternative versions of it. Whereas try to just come up with a new Space Marine thing. It's obvious that that's not a Space Marine vehicle or
because they have a very specific image for their
They also
high-end
follow
stuff.
that one same template for most of their tanks.
Yeah,
They have 2 tanks, and then they just change the fucking weaponry on it. That's it.
you could kind of say the same for Guard, but I mean Guard you could still kind of go out to
But
outside
Guard
retail.
just came out with a new tank.
Here's a big pickup.
Yeah.
truck.
Tanaruk. Or
The
Tauros.
Tauros or Tauros or whatever the fuck.
I said Tanaruk. That is a D&D term.
That's a demon orc.
Which could be an interesting ally choice.
Why hell they couldn't do that? Why?
Yeah,
Why hell you
Why
damn
hell,
guy?
goddamn guy?
Why the hell are there not Chaos Orcs in 40K?
Why hell you damn
Because
guy?
Warhammer got him first.
Clearly.
Now I will say
Or,
Now let me
World of
copyright a
Warcraft.
chevron.
Warcraft is the one I was thinking of, not Warhammer.
Now, I will say, it does seem like the community, it seems at least like, is pushing back against Age of Sigmar to some degree. I mean,
I don't know.
everyone
If Aaron
fucking
keeps
hates
buying
it.
these Chaos Dreadholds, I don't know what we're going to do.
I only need one more.
But I mean, other than a lot of internet sites seeming to really, really push it, I never hear of anyone having any interest towards Age of Sigmar in any way.
Well, in our geography, we don't know what the broader piece is, and for a lot, that actually changed the storyline. Like they legitimately messed with fluff in addition to rules with that,
Yeah.
and they got rid of whole armies.
Honestly, though, you almost have to think of it as an entirely different game. It is not Warhammer Fantasy.
No,
even
not at
close.
all.
It is Warhammer Age of Sigmar. It is not Warhammer Fantasy Battles.
I mean, we
Once
didn't have
you-
any fantasy players around here anyway to
No.
really know
Right,
how they
right,
feel
right.
about it.
I mean, we do, but they're very few and far between. The meta in this area, at least, has always been 40k as their major bread and butter. I'm sure there's other communities that have gung-ho Warhammer Fantasy players that might actually like the skirmish style setting of Warhammer Age of Sigmar.
Yeah, but to be perfectly
Who
honest,
knows?
those heavy Warhammer areas, they're going to Kings of War,
or
or they're
using
sticking with the old
rules.
8th edition.
Yeah.
And honestly, those rules are going to turn into... Basically, what's going to happen with those 8th edition rules, I foresee, is it's going to turn into the Necromunda community edition bowl.
Very similar to what Pathfinder really
Pathfinder
is.
for 3.5.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where I see Warhammer Fantasy Battles going, more than anything else. Because Games Workshop's basically giving up on it for Age of Sigmar.
It's because they see how successful 40k is. And if they can dumb down...
They're trying to fantasy 40k.
They didn't
No,
put
they're
a
trying
lot
to
of money
40K.
into
40K
Fantasy
plus.
Sigmar,
Yeah,
though, right?
that-
They created new models, but they can create rules for that in a different edition. So,
Yeah.
I mean, they easily could have just looked at this as, well, we're not sinking a lot of money into it. Let's see what happens. We won't lose, we might lose some players, but fantasy's already kind of a dying situation. In worst case scenario, we'll bring it back, and everybody will be so excited that it's back. It just makes you wonder: is
It'd
this
be like
the sort
it's
of
like
value
going.
of fantasy?
I was just going to say it. New Coke versus regular Coke.
Warhammer Classic is what they're going to call
what
it.
is it?
Warhammer Classic.
Crystal Pepsi? What was
Fucking
the clear
Crystal
Pepsi?
Crystal
There you
clear
go.
Pepsi. Pepsi Coda.
Yeah.
Fuck that garbage.
Tasty.
Ugh.
No, but that's an interesting point. That could be a possibility that they're looking at. That
Yeah,
this is
but
like a
why,
test of
why
waters
would
thing.
they dumpster fire all their money to make?
Why would
interesting
Games
water?
Workshop go into the beverage industry?
But what did they really invest in it? I mean, they
New molds? Molds
Yeah,
are
but you know what they
expensive.
took?
but if they come up with a new version of Warhammer Fantasy, all those molds are still perfectly viable.
Yeah, any of these models could have been.
Let's be
anything
honest.
else.
The bodies for
Yeah,
Sigmar
they're-
are
I mean,
basically
they're
Blood Angel
beautiful
bodies.
in a lot
So
of cases. So none of that was a waste of money. It was just this rule set that.
Oh my god, the corn models are so badass.
They
Yeah,
are.
Yeah,
great
the
job.
corn models look so
And
fucking
they played it
sweet.
safe in that. To think about that, honestly, with the new models they're making, they almost did play it safe because the majority of those models, with some minor tweaks, could all be 40k models. They're bread and butter. I mean, realistically, look at all the corn models.
Yeah,
I
you
can
can
name
make cultists
every
out of all
single...
of them.
Exactly. I can name every... You can make Berserkers, you can make Chosen, you can make a Hellbrute out of that giant monstrous thing. Every single model out of that corn line can, with some minor tweaks, be used for 40k.
That big corn monster thing is the single greatest indicator they're doing all CAD now, because I've seen Blizzard turn that same trick with monsters in World of Warcraft so many times, where they go, here's a big monster with a 3D model. Whoop. We changed a couple things. We threw a different skin on. Oh, it's a different monster that happens to walk exactly the same way.
all the elves and the dwarves look
Look
change
exactly
color.
the same. Well, let's just change the colors on them. Fuck them.
Even that thing's like weird, cockeyed, like Lurch is identical to the Dark Vengeance Hellbrute.
Yeah, exactly. It's got the one arm out, the other one kind of like hooked in, creepy like, and it's got the weird skin shit on it. It's perfect. I mean, and honestly, with the new models, it's almost like they're playing it safe with that. They're messing with it, but they're playing it safe. Have you seen a new Duarden? I'm sorry, they're not dwarves. Duarden model, or an orc model, or an elf model? No. You saw things that looked very similar to Space Marines, and things that look very similar to Chaos Space Marines. And that's pretty much it.
And actually, just saying, if you were a company that was interested in selling models and you were sitting around a boardroom and saying, what do we do with all these people who are our only players, but they all have their armies and they're not really buying much more because they already have thousands and thousands of
Because they're
points?
collectors and they have all these other fucking things.
That aside, you say, well, what if they had a reason to sell all their armies? And
Or
then
burn them
later
like
on, we
the
gave them a
Army.
reason to come back. Now all of a sudden they'd have to rebuild from scratch, and it'd almost be freeing. But now all these people are willing to spend all that money. I don't know. That's a stretch.
It's a lot of
But,
conspiracy,
it makes
but
you
it's
wonder.
possible.
Because
never know.
you do kind of have to get people to dump what they have to be able to do it. And there have been a couple of situations where I've seen gamers decide they're done with something for some reason. You know, wow, you delete a character because you're like, I need to get out of this. And then you get back in, and all of a sudden now you have a reason to try out this thing you've never tried before and play it all over again.
I mean, if
Start
we're going to
again.
go into conspiracy theory,
Let's go into it.
I'm in.
We should make
I
this
am
segment.
totally in. So we still have
Hold
more.
on.
We got time left. I'm
You,
going
you're the
conspiracy.
guy to go to.
For conspiracy?
Yeah.
Jared and Bill's Conspiracy
geez.
Corner.
Yeah,
I'm the guy to go. Oh, right, because of my new induction.
yeah,
Right.
your affiliation.
My
Yeah.
affiliations now. No, but if we're going to conspiracy theory, that would make sense why maybe certain codexes are sent out to be shitty, so that people will sell that army. So in 2 years, 3 years, or in Dark Eldar's case,
9 years.
18 years.
The distant future of the 41st millennium.
And I'm going to bring it back around. Tyranids, Gene Stealers, they made them awful. If they release a Gene Stealer cult,
Everyone
list
will buy into
that's
it.
super cheap. All of a sudden, there's going to be a new push to buy Gene Stealers, which all Tyranids players had tons of Gene Stealers before.
I kept mine. Ha!
But
They even
most
gave them away
ones
for
kept
free in the
them.
Battle of McCrag.
Right, but now there's going to be a mad grab for them if that's the case.
and
to
not
mention all
just
the
Gene
conversions.
Stealers, and not just Gene Stealers, Imperial Guard.
So what you're saying is I need to go on eBay and short Gene Stealer.
Maybe if it's not already too late, but
If we had an almanac
Makes
like
you
in
wonder.
Back to the Future 2, this would be perfect. No, but I mean that's another
Hold on.
possibility. Maybe
We
they
have,
make certain.
what, 2 more days. 2 more days. Marty McFly's coming. Just saying.
Yep.
October 15th.
Have fun being right where he's at when he gets here.
Well,
Fucking
we
idiot.
have to get all the way to California.
What was the other?
We gotta
conspiracy?
fight Biff. Fuck that guy.
God
That
damn
old
it, Biff
dick.
Tannen.
Doesn't someone posted on the internet that old Biff Tannen kind of looks like Donald Trump?
Yep. Yep.
I thought that was kind of an interesting thing, and we kind of segued completely off of our initial conspiracy.
They
theory
both
point.
hate minorities.
True.
So fuck him.
Whoa.
It's got dark for a podcast.
Just Biff Tannen. Fuck him.
Fuck Biff Tannen.
And Trump.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a topic for, I think,
Go
another
for it.
podcast.
Hey, politics.
Yeah, we got like 5 minutes of politics, bitches.
What are we going to do to fill this last 8 minutes? Politics.
Politics.
No,
That's
but we
always a
can
great
talk
topic.
about upcoming events.
Upcoming events.
Upcoming
Great
events.
point.
So we've got Burke's Winter Blast. That's Saturday, January 9th. Location still to be determined. It's $30 per player for pre-registration, $40 at the door. 1250 lists per player, 300 points max per unit. No Lords of War. They are allowing 30K. And check out the Burke's event page to see what's going on with that.
And just to kind of touch off of that, a group of us have been doing this for going to the Burke's Winter Blast, what,
This is our third or fourth year?
I think this is our fourth
This
year.
might be the
We've been
fourth
going.
year.
This
This is my third.
Yeah,
Okay.
so this will be our fourth year. Great event. The Winter Blast specifically goes towards some great charities. I
It
know
goes
it's been,
towards Thon.
Yeah, it goes towards Thon. So, I mean, really going out there, it makes you feel good because, yeah, you're playing games, but you could kind of waylay it into, I'm doing this for a good cause. So, like, you don't feel like as much of an asshole that you're taking your entire weekend away to go do whatever.
It's not even the entire weekend.
it's one day.
It's one day. It's Saturday.
Yeah, yeah.
And you can win some really cool stuff.
Beyonce all day.
When you spend your whole paycheck on raffle tickets and win nothing, you at least know that you helped kids with
At least,
leukemia.
at least you're helping children by blowing
go
huge
for
amounts of
chance
money on
yourself.
raffle tickets.
I was about to wait for you to say guys in the parking lot, but that's okay.
And they provide lunch too, right?
They do provide
Yes, they
lunch.
do
Yeah.
provide lunch. It's just an all-in-all fun event. It used to be 1,000 points a person, and they've upped the ante a little bit. So you can bring Forge World models, so it's going to be a blast. I'm looking
30K
forward
is an
to it.
interesting meta changer.
Yeah.
We're all used to Forge World here, so I don't think that's going to throw us for much of a
And
loop. But
plus, with the new way that they've updated the Contemptor Dreadnought Talons in 30K, you can now
The
take
formation.
You can take squads of Contemptor Dreadnoughts in 30K, so that's fun. They just, I think, updated that on the Forge World site. So have fun with that. And 20-man units of regular Space Marines with bolt guns and all the other happy shit that they have.
Definitely interesting.
Throw him in a goddamn Spartan.
And then we have coming up closer Mechanicon, which Sammy
That's
will be
this month.
That's this
Sam's
month.
going.
Sam's
That's
going.
going to be fun.
Yep, I got 10 days to finish painting, basing, sealing, building my display board. Almost done with all of this, but
Now that's like a full weekend thing.
Yeah,
right?
that's October 23rd to the 25th. It's at the Days Inn Brandywine Valley in Westchester. It's 5 games, 1875 points, fully painted armies only. And Sam, you talked about you can do, I think it's what, $10 if you want to just go and visit, like
You can-
spectate.
So yeah, they're going to have open gaming all 3 days. On Friday they're going to have a 3,000 point 40K tournament, and then the GT on Saturday and Sunday. They're going to have Battlefleet Gothic. They're going to have Epic Armageddon, and then just tables where people are going to be just running games.
Yeah, I think
whatever.
Jared and I talked about just getting like a spectator's pass and then going up and just playing one small game and then just hanging out and just,
It's definitely
snoozing
something
and
just to go and check
Just-
out, even
yeah,
for a
just
day.
do.
I think it'd be fun.
So if anybody wants to go, I think Jared and I might go.
Yeah,
Let's go check it out.
Absolutely should.
And we'll wear our BWG t-shirts and we'll
Stand
cheer on
strong.
Sam.
stand strong. Is there any vendors at that one too, or
I don't think so. This one's been really pared back from the past. I think it's pretty much just
the gaming
games.
aspect, which is it's perfect. I mean, honestly, sometimes the vendors can kind of clog things up. I think.
Yeah, and that's put
occasionally.
on by Tony Spino
The
and the guys
Gaming
from Gaming
Garage
Garage.
guys,
So,
yeah.
Gaming Garage. Great guys, great
yeah,
guys.
I had the pleasure of getting my ass kicked by Tony and his Necrons at Burke Spring Assault, and it was fucking awful.
They do have some really
He was
nice-
great. His army was disgusting. I have no problem with him. He's great.
They've been working really hard on terrain for months. They kind of threw out all the old terrain.
Oh,
They've
yeah.
been working on new. And the Mechanicon guys, they always have the best tables.
Oh yeah, they have some
around.
beautiful
Yeah,
tables.
gorgeous stuff.
The stuff they've been posting looks great, so I'm
Yeah.
excited for that.
Then obviously we have our own in-house
Brawl.
tournament,
Fall
the
Brawl.
BWG Fall Brawl. It's only going to be 16 total open spots. We've got another table coming, but we can probably support easily 16 players. I think it's going to be like $5 or $6 a player to even get in on it. And Brian's going to be giving away a prize I think he's giving away a Night Lancer, so that'll be fun. So
Okay.
everybody should show up if
Wow.
you can.
Why am I going to be in Maryland that
Yeah,
weekend?
sorry, but he's giving something away, and it's just
I'll be
going to be a
working.
fun time. It's going to be 1,000 points, 4x4 tables, and I'm going to just use the ITC rules just in case if any rules questions come up.
And if you come out, you can meet some of the guys at the podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. I wasn't sure if I was going to participate until you said Night Lancer.
You can get Sam's autograph.
For $6. Realistically, $6.
You only got to beat a couple of fucking schmucks. It's 3 games. Who cares?
Yeah, you can get all of our awesome
Start-
autographs along with it.
Except for me and Aaron.
Except for
We won't be
you and
there.
Aaron. Yeah,
I'll show up later,
and your brother
but-
Jeff isn't going to be here, so that sucks.
you won't get to meet the club Jeffy, but you know
He's never been on these anyway. So that's
he's probably playing Final Fantasy right now. Hi, Jeff.
Douche. And then, last but not least, actually, Showcase Comics is doing an auction down in Swarthmore. And that is November 14th. And again, a bunch of us are going down. It starts at 10 a.m. I suggest getting there early so you can get registered. You can try to,
look
you can
around,
look at what
browse.
they have. And they usually have a listing of all their items. So
Yeah, it's actually a particularly good idea to take a look because they do something midstream where you get to bring stuff up that you really want to go on auction. So it's not like a normal. I mean, normally in an auction you'd go around and figure out what you want, but in particular it makes some sense to have a good feel for what you might want to see go up.
And please know that this is not a legitimate style auction. You're just offering to pay for what somebody has left at their store. You're paying tax on this, and you're doing a whole bunch of other stuff. You're not actually having an auctioneer come out and take his own whatever.
Officially, it's like a swap.
Yeah, it's
right?
more like a swap. So,
But for cash.
yeah.
Yeah. Basically.
Yeah, I mean, they had this whole disclaimer up on their site. So, and
Check it out. You can see all the different rules.
Find
And
them on
they'll
Facebook.
probably have the actual items that'll get listed up as it gets closer. Definitely something awesome to go into. If you're looking to get into a new army, there's a lot of cheap deals you can kind of find into things, especially if it's an army that's not heavily played. You can really get into a lot of stuff. I actually, last year, and I ended up trading it out, but I got a full box of terrain for $30-$40 and ended up trading that to another person that wanted it too so I could get money to get more Grey Knight stuff. But
That within minutes, right?
literally
This isn't later.
within like 15 minutes, someone came up and then re-offered me for the terrain. So, but I mean, like I said, not just models. You've got terrain. They were auctioning off some carrying
Board games?
cases. There was board games. There was just different small weird models. Not necessarily 40K stuff.
yeah, carrying cases all
Warmahordes.
over the
A
place.
lot of
Warmahorde
Warmahordes.
shit.
A lot of Warmahordes.
Somebody
So
brought a freaking fantasy Mighty Fortress, which is super rare and
Yeah.
amazing, that went out for auction last year.
Yeah,
So-
unopened Blood Bowl game, I think. Was
Yeah.
there.
I'm actually half tempted to, if I don't get any offers on my War Machine, Retribution of Syra, to take a trip down there and throw that down there for the swap meet, or whatever it is, for the auction.
yeah, it's not a bad idea.
I mean, if I can get anything out of it, better than it just sitting in my closet. I literally have zero desire to play War Machine anymore.
It's a shame.
So see, Sean has no desire to play War Machine, so he's going to sell his army, and then in a year or 6 months, when everybody gets back into it, he's going to have to buy his whole War Machine army again. The plan's working.
Conspiracy.
Just saying, it happens with gamers.
It does. It
I have a
does.
very fickle heart.
Jared, what was the turnaround time on your corn army?
My corn army, I think, was
Speaking of fickle,
Fickle gamers.
4 months, and that's the third time I rebought Chaos.
I can't say anything either, though.
No.
I had Emperor's Children, sold them, got back out of the hobby completely. Went back in, played Korn, got rid of them with Tyranid, got back in with Nurgle, got rid of them, got back in with Black Legion. Fuck.
How many times have you sold an army and bought it back from the
Raven
store
Guard
you
is
sold
3.
it to, though?
Oh, that? Twice.
See, someone is worse than me. Someone is worse than me, at least. No, but most of my armies I have
I've been
sold off
playing
and
for a long
bought
time,
back.
so
Yeah,
it's not that bad.
Imperial Guard, I sold them off and I got them back off of Aaron. Usually our armies just kind of rotate amongst the group. It seems like that's another
I've got some really
possibility.
good ideas. I really want that army back.
Yeah, that happened. So, just wanted to thank Montalbanat for allowing just as a closer. Thank Montalbanat for allowing us to do our podcast here. So a little shout out to them.
And hosting all of the jerk off parties we have.
Oh, amazing!
Every Wednesday night.
Every Wednesday
night. But if you would love to come out and play
And
with us,
40K night on Tuesday.
if you'd like to come out and play with any of us assholes on here, we play Tuesday nights pretty regularly. Saturdays we
A lot of
play.
people play Bolt on Wednesdays.
Huge Bolt showing on Wednesday. If any of you have any questions or even the
I always show
slightest,
my
That's
Bolt on
before,
Wednesday.
yeah, it's the Bolt
Before
is
the jerk-off
before
party.
the jerk-off party.
but
If you're going to the jerk-off party, bring a mask
if any of you have any
and a tarp.
if anyone has any slight interest in Bolt action, just seemed like an interesting game to get into, come out here on a Wednesday. You've got some beautifully painted armies and guys that are really interested and really into the
And if
game.
you get a chance, Brian just set up his board for, it looks like a Normandy board just now. And so tomorrow night's game looks like it's going to be fucking fantastic.
Yeah, so that would
gonna be
be
awesome.
tonight for most people that would be listening to the podcast.
Yeah, and losers get cornholed.
Unfortunately,
Yes.
if you're watching this on YouTube, it's probably like Friday or Saturday by now. So
Or
sorry you missed
never, if I never give the actual
it.
audio.
Or if you never
to,
give me the audio, it
Bill
won't go
West.
up on YouTube.
Bill's eventually going to bring a camera out to videotape us in all of our horrible glory, but the longer that stays, the
That's
better.
when our masks will be hit.
The masks.
Three masks mandatory.
So,
It might be necessary
voice
come winter, though.
changers and all
Cold
kinds of
fucking
shit.
here.
so as per usual, to end our Grudgecast, we add another name to the stone. You suck a dick. We add another name to the stone. Sean, you were actually the Grudge last time, weren't you?
Yeah, so fuck you guys. You're all the fucking grudges, you dickheads.
So what is our grudge this time? Anyone have something?
All of your dumb fucking faces is what the fucking grudge is. You fucking poison cocksuckers.
Anyone? Aaron,
That's on a 2+.
Aaron, you're usually good at coming up with our grudges. Come up with something.
Still gonna be Sean. He scheduled
God
it.
damn
We're going to do a double on Sean.
Here's the thing.
Ugh.
Here's my reasoning.
I worked so hard in this fucking group to be shit on. Fuck you guys.
No, it's only because Sean was like, "Yeah, we're gonna make we're gonna try and go for the next event for BWG on a Sunday." And
No, I never would
Saturday.
fucking do that on a Sunday.
That's okay.
Brian, he's always off that fucking
no,
day.
Brian hosts everything here, so nothing for Brian. It's all you.
I have no control over the fucking store being open or
I mean,
closed.
I have to. If no one else brings any other grudge, Sean, you've got a twofer. I'm sorry, man.
Default grudge?
No,
I'm on a default That is not even fucking nice. God.
No, it's only because you were
Shut
nominated.
down the fucking club.
Does it have to be gaming related?
No.
All right. How about I name Hurricane Joaquin for sending rain on my wedding day?
Yes.
Oh,
absolutely.
man. That was
Fuck
some bullshit.
that.
Yeah.
Although the wedding was beautiful.
Thank you.
It was
Well,
fun.
absolutely amazing.
I'm going to throw one out there.
Okay.
I brought it up
Asshole.
earlier. It's 2 days. So Biff Tannen.
Biff Tannen.
fucking
Yeah.
Fuck
Tannen.
Biff Tannen.
Fucking
2 days.
fuck
Biff
Biff.
Tannen.
Actually, you know what? I'm gonna
We'll
retract
two for-
my
we'll two
grudge
for
from
it.
Sean. Yeah, I can't do that to Sean. It's you know what?
Twice in a row.
It's us right now. It's me and you for not thinking of
Me and you, as in me and
I'm gonna throw both of us under the bus.
this is on. No one can see your hand motion.
No,
so
it's okay.
Aaron and
you and
Jared.
I, because we're so complacent on whether or not we're going to take Cypher at the Birch Winter Blast and try and fuck people over, trying to get like 3
You
extra
take Cypher
points.
in your Chaos Army,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
take Dark Angels. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think because we'd be complete bastards.
Oh
for
yeah,
it,
yeah,
so-
we'd be total bastards if that
What
happened.
happens when a dwarf writes their own name?
Right,
on
yeah,
a
just,
Yeah.
fuck myself.
They just fucking killed himself.
So to bring it back around to be political, it's going to be Biff Tannen and Donald Trump.
There we go.
And Hurricane Joaquin.
And Hurricane
anybody
Joaquin.
else named Joaquin? Like fuck
Phoenix?
that. Joaquin Phoenix.
Jack Wynn?
Jacqueline. Fuck them. And fuck you. And goodbye. Have a good day. And what was the last thing we always have to say?
Fuck your mother.
There you go.